Hello, my name is Sophie and welcome back to my channel. I kind of disappeared for the whole month. I think I was a little bit burnt out after summer and I had a lot of plans and I did not give myself a lot of time to recover from them. In my defense, I did at least attempt to film a video almost every week. It was the editing that got me. I just didn't get around to editing them. So sorry for that, but also I'm just a girl trying my best. It's come to that time of the month, my favourite time of the month. I love picking my TBR each month because I am not a mood reader, so I love knowing what's coming up next. I've had a lovely reading month in September. Little spoiler, I'm doing really well on my monthly TBR so far. At this point in the month, when I'm filming this, I have read every book on my monthly TBR that is currently out. There is one book that I put on my TBR for this month, which is arguably a stupid decision because it doesn't come out until the 25th of September. So I'm giving myself about 5 days to actually finish this book. As I have mentioned once or twice before, I make my TBRs in a way that's slightly different to how I've seen other people making them. I do have a TBR jar, but it's not filled with prompts like I've seen many other people do. Mine is filled with at least some of my physical TBR. But even that TBR jar is not how I pick my monthly TBR. I have a bunch of categories and I pick a book or two for each of those categories, and then that little culmination gives me a monthly TBR. Those categories are a book from the wedding library, because when my husband and I got married, we asked our guests to gift us a copy of their favourite book, and in an endeavour to read them all, I choose one a month, and I'm slowly getting there. We're coming to the end of year 3 of me reading all my books from this library, and the end is in sight. I'm not going to finish it this year, maybe not even in 2026, but by 2027, I think I will have read every book that we were given as a wedding gift, which is actually very exciting. Anyway, that's category number 1. Category number 2 is any new releases I've pre-ordered. I'm currently on a book buying ban. It's going moderately well. The only book I've bought since putting myself on a book buying ban was a trophy of an audiobook I'd already listened to, so it didn't add to my physical TBR, so arguably it doesn't count. Girl math. I've also had a birthday and I was given books. That also doesn't count. I cannot be held accountable for that. If I have any new releases pre-ordered, that doesn't count. I'm only allowed to have 3 pre-orders a month. I think that is reasonable. Watch me justifying my book buying ban being broken repeatedly. Anyway, category number 2, new releases. Then for category number 3, which is my 25 and 2025, I pick 2 books each month to try and read. If I read 2 books for this category every month until the end of the year, I will have 1 book left. So I may pick 3 books for this category this month, but we'll get to that later in the video. And then my 4th and final category is continuous series. Sometimes some of my new release pre-orders count for this category, or I let them count for this category. But if I don't have any new releases, or if I've only got 1 new release, I then get to carry on reading a series that I'm in the middle of. At a minimum, I have 5 books on my monthly TBR. Usually it is 6 or 7, but last month I only had 5, and like I said, I've finished all the books that are currently out, so it's gone quite well. So stop saying so, that's really annoying. My foot's gone numb from where I'm sitting on it. Those are my 4 categories. For the wedding library, I use a spinner because, as I said, I'm not a mood reader and I hate making decisions. So I let the spinner pick for me. And then for my remaining 25 and 2025 books, I have my tiny TBR jar, because the way I chose my 25 and 2025 was to pick books out of my big TBR jar. So I thought I would maintain that theme. Let us begin. We have 19 entries left on the Wedding Book Club spinner. That is representative of more than 19 books. But you know what? Considering we started with a lot more entries on this spinner, I'm very pleased that there's only 19 left. So let's click the spinner now. This always makes me nervous because there's some books that I'm really intimidated by on this list. And oh no, really? Okay, we got Warlock to the Magicborn. This comes with a story. So Warlock to the Magicborn was the chosen Wedding Book Club book 2 months ago. I think it was July. And the book itself is quite chunky, and I didn't realise until I started reading it that it was a bind-up of 3 books. I started trying to read the book in bed, and because it was chunky and because it's quite old, it felt really delicate, and I I always try to read in bed by like holding the book like a gremlin, and it didn't feel safe. So I bought it on my Kindle, and because it's a bind up of 3 books, each book is essentially like a novella length. It was only 200 pages, and it took me 2 weeks to reach the 25% mark of this book, which is not even 50 pages. At which point my husband said, just DNF the book. And I was like, okay, I'll DNF the book. But because it's in the wedding library, I considered it a soft DNF, because so far I've not DNF'd any books in this library so far. So I didn't want that one to be the first. And I didn't want that one to be the only. And I was like, I'll just leave it on the spinner. The chances of it coming up again this year are little to none. So I'm sure it will be fine. And now it's not even been 2 months. So I guess I'll try and read it again. I think my biggest issue is that it doesn't have an audiobook, and I'm really struggling to read books that I can't at least in part listen to with an audiobook. I'll be brave and I'll try it again. Maybe I'll just make my husband read it to me. I'll do a real life audiobook. I will attempt Warlock to the Magic Born again. Coming on a brighter note, I have 2 books pre-ordered, I think, for October, but one of them is a Christmas book. So I've put that into my December new release category. Look at me somewhat planning my December TBR months in advance. But either way, I've only got 1 new release pre-ordered that I'm planning to read this month, and that is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is the sequel to her paranormal romance from last year. I think it came out last year, which was called Bride, which was a wolf vampire romance. I liked Bride enough, but it didn't grab me as much as some of Ali Hazelwood's other books have, but I'm excited for this nonetheless. I have pre-ordered it, and I will be reading it when it comes out, I believe on the 7th of October. I love reading on my Kindle. It's my favourite way to read, so the fact that I've already got 2 Kindle books lined up for October is a win. Then we get on to my 25 and 2025. The contents of this jar are getting really thin because I've only got 7 books left on my 25 and 2025, but I will continue to pick them out of this jar until they're all done. This is the tricky bit where I try and hold the mic and open the jar at the same time. Turns out it's not that tricky. I was just incompetent before. I always feel like I can't look, even though all of these pieces of paper are folded up. The next book, it's one I've written by hand, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Okay, this is interesting. I picked this book up for £1 in a charity shop, I think last year, because this was one of the books that I had to study for my GCSE English exam. And obviously when you study a book at school, it's a really good way to immediately hate it and have to resent spending so much time in one book and analysing every single word. But I have fond memories is the wrong word, but thinking back about this story, and especially all of the minority representation in it, I thought it'd be interesting to reread it, especially under the lens of now being diagnosed with autism and having my own minority representation. I think this will be a nice one to reread without having the pressure of it being associated with exams and school and stuff. And it's also a novella, so I reckon I'll be able to read this relatively quickly. I might be able to find a good audiobook. It's only got 121 pages. Banging. That is what we need. Especially when I'm so nervous about the wedding library book for this month, I will take a short novella. I bet the audiobook's only like 3 hours long. That sounds wonderful. I'm very pleased with that pick. So my second one for this month will be probably on the other end of the spectrum. Oh, another one written by hand. We have By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. I would show you it, but it's just my handwriting. There we go. By the Book, Jasmine Guillory. By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. I remember exactly when I picked this up. My husband and I went on a book buying trip to Coventry, and this was in the works. It was only £3. I love books about books. I feel like I'd heard something about this book, but I don't know if I had. And you know what? I don't think I know anything about it, but it's a romance and a book about books. And I feel like I've not read a lot of contemporary romances this year, considering I feel like it's my go-to comfort genre. This is what I need. This is a good mix. I'm happy with this, actually. And then for my last category, my continuous series category, I have developed what I'm currently calling the book queue, which is basically just the list of books I will read if I have any time left at the end of the month when I've finished reading my monthly TBR. And at the moment, that list is essentially just a bunch of sequels in series that I have currently got on the go. The series that I'm telling myself that I am actively reading at the moment is the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. The next of which I have to read is book 4, which is The Final Warning. That is the next book in my queue that is a series to be continued. The thing with having a TBR jar is that I have all of these tiny bits of paper of books that I have taken out of the TBR jar that either haven't been read yet or are representative of a series, so I feel like I can't do anything with them until I've read the whole series. So, I mean, the first one in this stack is The Boy at the Top of the Mountain by John Boyne, which I did read this month. And then when I finished with this tiny bit of paper, because I am somewhat neurotic, I have another jar. This one came from a Lumacrate, and it's got a little slot in the top, which is a weird feature for a TBR jar, but really good if you want to have a finished TBR jar. So when I finish with a piece of paper, it gets to go in the other jar. Is there any point to keeping these bits of paper? Absolutely not. But I have a jar with a postbox on the top. Then the next piece of paper I have is The Dragon's Eye by Dougall Steer, which I have read as part of my September TBR. So spoiler for my September wrap-up, that one can go in. Then the next piece of paper I have is Charlie Loving Clichés by Ella Mays, which is a piece of paper I picked out for a TikTok video I filmed. I reckon I filmed it in April. I still haven't got around to reading it yet. I think this is the next book I have in my book queue. So if I don't finish that or start that by the end of September, it will be first up when I get around to it in October. Then we just have a bunch of series that I've pulled out and started and haven't finished. So we have Maximum Ride. Like I said, I'm hoping to read book 4 in October, and I own books 5, 6, and 7. So we're getting to the end of that, but there are 11 books total. So we'll see where we end up. The Luminaries by Susan Dennard was another one from my 25 and 2025. I read book 1, but I feel like I can't do anything with this piece of paper until I at least read book 2, which I own. I don't own book 3. After book 2, I'm going to decide whether I want to carry on with the series and take it from there. Another one from my 25 and 2025, we have the Shatter Me series by Tahiri Mafi. I read book 1. There are 4 more books on my shelves. Book 2 is in the queue. Rinse and repeat. Then we have, the Cornish Village School Second Chances. This went in the TBR jar because I accidentally bought book 2, not realising it was book 2. So I then had to listen to book 1, which I did because it was included in Audible Plus in August. Then I'd read book 2 in September, and I do own book 3, but because this is book 2, I'm going to count that as read and put it in the finished jar. So I've cut that down a little bit, but that's why I have all these little bits of paper and why I have a queue to try and cut down on some of these bits of paper. And also just because I'm not a mood reader, so it's nice to know what's coming up next. So that's my TBR for the month. It's currently at 5 books. Do I keep it at 5 books with the hope that I can read more of my backlist book queue, the aforementioned book queue? Or do I add one more book from my 25 and 2025 and then I can be on track for the rest of the year? We already know I'm going to pick another book from the 25 and 2025 just because I'm on a reading roll right now, so I might as well roll with it and try and get a bit ahead. So, that's an exciting one as well. So I caught a glimpse. The book I picked was 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. It's so small, you won't be able to read it. You're not missing anything. It's fine. This one feels quite significant actually because for my birthday, my husband bought me the special edition that they've just released because I've got all of the Good Girls Guide to Murder special editions, but they've just released this 5 Survive one, and I wasn't going to rush to get it because I haven't read 5 Survive yet. So now I own 2 editions of this book. I've not read either of them, but it feels very relevant that that's come out of the TBR jar because I have this, and now I can know whether I'm going to resent having this I'm probably going to like it. There is only one Holly Jackson book I've ever not liked, and that was the end of the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I love Holly Jackson's writing, and I've loved all of her standalones, so I have high hopes for this. Considering how nervous I was and anxiously rambling I was about the Wedding Book Club book pick for this month, I think we've ended on a high note. So we have 6 books on the monthly TBR for this month. 3 from my 25 and 2025, just to be able to get back on track. 1 new release. 1 repeat Wedding Book Club book that I'm really nervous about. But here's the roundup. We're reading the first book in the Warlock to the Magic Born bind up by Christopher Stasheff, which is called Escape Velocity, which I have on my Kindle, so I won't be having to read this book in bed. From my new release that I've pre-ordered, I will be reading Mate by Ali Hazelwood, which I've got as an ebook. Will I end up with a physical copy by the end of the month? Probably. I can't be held accountable for that. Then for my 25 and 2025, we have Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck and By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. For my continuous series category, I will be continuing my Maximum Ride reread with the 4th book in the series, The Final Warning by James Patterson, and a bonus 25 and 2025 book to get me back on track and hopefully have it so I will finish all of the books by the end of the year. 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. I'm happy with those 6 books. Am I still nervous about the Wedding Book Club book? Yes, but I'm excited about the rest of them. And so far in September, I've read 8 books and there's still another week to go. So I think I'll be able to get it up to 10. I'm also only 4 books away from finishing my annual goal for the year, so I'm very excited about that. Things are going well in reading at the moment, and I'm really happy and excited about it. So those are the 6 books I will be attempting to read in October. Normally when I have a really good reading month, it's followed by a less good reading month. So I am not nervous. Nervous is the wrong word, because I do not put that much pressure on reading, or at least I try to remind myself not to put that much pressure on reading. But I'm not as confident in my ability to finish my TBR next month, just from patterns and evidence that I have from the rest of the year. But we'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens. We've got some nice short books and a thriller, which is normally really fast paced. I get through most Holly Jackson books in a matter of days because I'm obsessed with them. So who knows? Who knows? Just got to hope for the best. If you make monthly TBRs, please do let me know what you're hoping to read. Are you reading more spooky season books? Because I'm not a mood reader, I don't feel the need to read seasonally other than Christmas. So I tend to read whatever books with whatever vibes all year round. Are you picking spooky specific books? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're reading a great book, and I'll see you next time, whenever that is, for another bookish video. Bye!